Hi, I'm Virginia Senator Mark Warner, and today I want to discuss the record $1.9 trillion COVID relief and American Rescue Plan. This bill does three critically important things. First, it makes sure that we can continue the vaccination efforts and testing efforts to make sure we get COVID in the rearview mirror. Second, it extends unemployment benefits for those Americans, close to 20 million, that are still out of work and need the additional assistance to get back into the workforce. And third, by making an almost record investment of $120 billion, it makes sure that our schools can reopen in a safe and secure manner and our kids can get back to learning. Let me take a couple minutes, though, and give you some more details on this legislation. One, I'm glad that, while the bill was not perfect, I am glad it's passed the Senate, it's passed the House, and the President will sign this into legislation. One part that has probably attracted the most attention is the direct checks to Americans. The vast majority of Americans will receive $1,400 per person in checks that come on top of the $600 checks individuals receive at the end of the year. In addition, dependent children will also receive $1,400 in checks. Next, we've known for a long time that child poverty in this country is an enormous challenge. Matter of fact, poverty amongst children of color approaches 40% of those children. In this legislation, in addition to the checks for children, come a one-year expansion of the child tax credit. This will literally have families receive up to $300 per child per month for the balance of the fiscal year. This is so critically important to pay for childcare, particularly as moms and dads get back into the workforce to make sure their kids have the child care they need. It also, this additional child tax credit will ensure that the close to 1 out of 7 American children that go to bed hungry each night, that those numbers will be cut in half. This child tax credit expansion is some of the most important social policy that we've seen literally in decades. We, in a country as rich as ours, children should not be going to bed hungry or living in poverty. What we've also done in this legislation is continue to expand business support. In earlier legislation, we put forward dramatic amounts of loans for small businesses, the so-called PPP program. In one of the earlier pieces of legislation, I put in $12 billion to support minority-owned businesses through additional lending out of Black-owned banks and organizations that focus on low-income community development financial institutions. In this legislation that the President is signing, there's also targeted relief for restaurants. I think we've seen restaurants and hospitality have probably been the hardest hit of any industry. Previous legislation went after music venues and theaters and stages. This legislation the President is signing, the ARA plan, will put billions of dollars in direct assistance to those independent restaurants. As we reopen our economy, we've got to make sure that restaurants are part of that reopening plan. And finally, I'm very proud of the fact that in this legislation, I got $17 billion for additional high-speed internet connectivity called broadband. That $17 billion will both help on affordability for folks who need this kind of access, and it will expand coverage. We've seen, for example, in Virginia alone, close to 700,000 Virginians have not had access to broadband. So during COVID, you couldn't study at home or work at home or get telehealth services. This $17 billion, largest federal investment in our country's history, will make a great down payment. We'll still need to do more, but we need to make an absolute guarantee that over the next 12 to 24 months, every American, no matter where they live, have access to high-speed broadband connectivity. Again, this legislation is not perfect, but it makes the kind of investment in healthcare, in getting our schools reopened, in assistance to individuals, in assistance to businesses, in assistance to infrastructure like broadband that will allow, as President Biden says, for our economy to build back better. I'm proud to have supported it, and we now need to get these resources out to Americans.